Welcome to SVG-TV News for Friday, February 2nd, 2024. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. The hearing of the appeal in the vaccine mandate case, which was scheduled to be heard on Thursday, February 1st, was adjourned and will be held at a date to be determined. Explaining to SVG-TV News what transpired on Thursday, President of the Public Service Union, Errol Boucher, said though disappointed, they remain confident that the affected workers will secure victory in the end.
Yeah, something I learned about the unavailability of one of the judges because I was trying to get into the court on Thursday morning. But having spoken with the lawyer, I was informed that one of the judges in the three-judge panel indisposed and therefore the case had to be adjourned, which means it might most likely be heard sometime in February or March. So disappointment in a way, yes, because we really would like to see this matter come to conclusion. We are very confident that the workers will be victorious once again. They have done a fantastic job. But because we're not sure of what the circumstances are that led to the adjournment, there's not very much we can do respect to that. Only our hope is that by February or March, that this matter will be further ventilated.
President of the SVG Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, also expressed disappointment with the adjournment of the appeal hearing.
I want to express my disappointment with what took place on the 1st of February concerning the court matter with regards to the dismissal of workers by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I am speaking on behalf of the entire membership of the union as well as those of our members who were directly impacted. The reason for this disappointment is that we have been waiting for months. This is something that many persons, specifically our members and workers who were affected by this vaccine mandate, were looking forward to this case with great confidence. And all of a sudden we realized that the case has been adjourned, and the explanation given is that one of the judges was absent. What is also of concern is that most of the times when a matter is referred to the registrar to fix, it is left to the discretion of the registrar. If the presiding judge had given a date, then you know for sure you look forward to a specific time when this is going to take place. But it means that the registrar now will have to be consulting with the council from both sides, the government side and the union side. And that itself is a challenge because each council may have a list of cases they have to deal with. And as you know, the criminal matters will take precedence over the civil matters. So we are hoping that the registrar would really find a date soonest, as quick as possible.
The government filed an appeal following a decision handed down by High Court Judge Esco Henry on March 13, 2023, in favor of members of the unions which sponsored a lawsuit against the government, namely the SVG Teachers Union and the Public Service Union, along with the Police Welfare Association. The workers challenged the government's mandate after they were terminated for refusing to take the COVID-19 vaccine. In Justice Henry's ruling, she ordered the government to pay the affected workers all wages and benefits they would have received had it not been for the government's decision to terminate them and for the government to also pay punitive damages. The government's legal team, led by Senior Counsel Anthony Astafan, appealed the decision of the court and applied for a stay of execution of the order, which was granted by Acting Justice of Appeal Paul Webster. In other local news now, we hear that Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves met yesterday evening with residents, vendors, farmers, boat owners and fishers of the Buccament community to discuss issues and future plans for the Buccament Bay beach. On Star FM this morning, Prime Minister Gonsalves said the meeting was also attended by Area Representative Orlando Brewster, former MP Sir Louis Stricker, Minister of Finance Camilla Gonsalves, Minister of Tourism Carlos James, and lasted for 2.5 hours.
For the vendors, I had suggested that we can build some small shops, booths like for when the ships are coming in, holidays time. You can actually roll them on and off the facility, and there's a big parking space behind where the shops are built, where they can actually be put when you take them off the beach.
Yes.
And they go on the beach on wheels, they go. They're easy. I mean, we are not reinventing the wheel. There's one groin which has been built to help to save the sand, but a second groin needs to be built at the mouth of the river. One is built on Sandal's side, another one needs to be built on our side, on the community side.
Right.
Of course, we'll then have to do steps to go down into the water for entry time. We need to have in place a staff to keep the beach clean. There are some people who try and clean the beach voluntarily, but we can't allow that. I mean, it's not fair to people. Some people may still help.
Right. Yes.
And to have CWSA properly involved with the collection of the garbage and so on, put a skip at an appropriate place and so on. So these sort of things. We need to build, the government that is, a proper shed and storage facilities in a particular area for people to put their seine and to store a number of different items belonging to the fisher folk.
Right.
Some boatmen, fellows with boats, they are complying from the earlier discussion to keep their boats a little way out so that people can bathe closer.
Right.
But some not doing that. So that has to be properly regularized. We have to demarcate an area where within
bathers. Right.
So
Exactly.
they can bathe.
Right.
Then we're going to ban cleaning of fish on the beach.
Prime Minister Gonsalves further noted that the discussion also focused on the benefits that Vincentians, especially the people of Buccament, can have when Sandals opens for business.
I believe we are pretty okay with the fish.
Okay.
And conch and lobster. I'll tell you this reason why. We have a multiplicity of people who harvest fish, conch and lobster.
Right.
And there are people who will sell independently to hoteliers.
Yes.
Now at the moment, and people catch a lot of, man who throws seine catch a lot of bait. Sprat and some ballahu,
Right.
mainly sprat, and sell the bait to trawlers from Trinidad.
Right.
Who fish on the high seas.
Exactly.
And they will continue to do that. But there are others who are selling through what let us put a name to it, an aggregator. Sandals wouldn't be so interested in 50 or 100 fishermen coming to sell them small poundage of this, that, and the other.
Right.
But you have an aggregator called Rainforest.
Exactly.
So they buy and they will sell to Sandals.
Exactly. Yeah, I see the point.
We don't quite have a business person or persons as an aggregator or aggregators in respect of the agricultural products. So even if somebody in Park Hill, Vermont, Fitzhughes, Richmond, they have products to sell, Sandals is not going to be interested in dealing with 50 people coming to them with small quantities of tomatoes.
Okay.
It would be wonderful if somebody buys the tomatoes, has a contract with Sandals at a price and everything, quantity, quality, packaging, everything, all the standards, you meet them. And you do that aggregation. And the state is willing, the government is willing, we have said we are willing to help such persons, willing to help them through Prime or even more than Prime, to do their aggregation. So that's really the challenge there. And I tell the private sector people, you have to step up to the plate. We are here to help. Young ambitious businessmen and women, people who want to go into entrepreneurship, could start to do this thing.
And Prime Minister Gonsalves continues to defend his government's record since taking office in 2001, noting that no one can truly say that the country has not made remarkable progress over the years. on the country's unemployment rate, the Prime Minister said it is not as high as being purported. The Prime Minister said the best proxy for employment in SVG is the active registrant with the National Insurance Services, the NIS, noting that when the ULP took office in 2001, about 30,000 persons were registered with the NIS, and at the end of last year, that number has climbed to over 43,000, about 13,000 more.
But the population since 2001 only increased by 1,000 people. So where them fellas are getting fanciful numbers about 40% unemployment and all the rest of it. They live in a dream world. If you have 40% unemployment in this country, you have a revolution.
Without a doubt.
Eh?
Of course.
And we must always remember this. The definition of an unemployed person is somebody able to work within the ages, say, 15 and 63. Within that age and able to work. You can't count as unemployed those who are at school, you know, between 15 and 18 or 15 and 19 or 15 and 20.
Right.
They sometimes do that, you know. No, you have to be in those ages, able to work, willing to work, looking for work, and can't find work. There are some people don't want to leave the village to go and look for work, you know. The work must come meet them. But some of those same persons would swim an ocean, climb a mountain, cross a desert, just for me to see.
Ah.
We have to understand certain facts.
Yes, yes.
And 20% of the working population, of those who, 20% of what the 40-something thousand, 43,000 plus, who are employed, who are active registrants, not registered with NIS. Some domestic workers, some construction workers, some people in transportation.
Yes, yes.
Farm workers, a lot of own account workers. So if you have 20% of that, you have another 8,000 people plus. So you're knocking at now 52,000 people working really. And your labor force is about 55,000. You see how the percentage of unemployment looks different now.
Exactly.
And the survey which you do can't beat the actual NIS numbers. I keep telling everybody that. I tell the IMF that. I tell the World Bank that. I tell the census takers that. I tell everybody that.
Pushing for an export-led economy for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, opposition MP Sinclair Leacock said the government has to commit resources to change what he described as the Krong orientation and position the country to perform in a global market space.
And if you want to take part in a global village, then you have to develop brand equity. And you heard my colleague mention that before. So that she mentioned the St. Vincent brand with respect to her product line. I have floated the idea of developing in St. Vincent and the Grenadines a Chateau brand. That was neither here nor there. Because St. Vincent had that international limit before when we spoke about Sea Island cotton. When we were one of the world's largest, most effective producers of cotton under the Sea Island brand. So we did have a name at one, but we've lost that. The fact is, therefore, you have to know how to go abroad. What is the template? What are the tiny steps? What is the order of those steps? And how do you do that? So, in the same way, this is where the China hits the road. That you will take $90 million from the NIS to give it to a hotel plant. Or you will take a loan from the Taiwanese for $135 million to put up a hotel plant on the leeward coast. And after which, you then do what? You give out management contracts to people to manage and run the hotel business. When do we get to that stage that we say that all farmers need the same hands-up approach of large capital and transformational investment, of not just guaranteed markets, but take them to a place where they're not now a 5 case per week or per month provider, but they become small fish in a big pond. Not big fish in a small pond, small fish in a big pond, because we are now in Brooklyn, largest concentration of incense in the world. We're in High Wycombe, we are in Toronto, you name your location, and we're about in these marketplaces, and that's when it begins to make sense. So that's what we have to have at the back of our mind.
The opposition MP noted that the economy of SVG still continues to function on the old plantation mode with a monocrop which has to change.
One of the most fundamental statements that was made in the last parliament came from the Minister of Agriculture. And he said this: St. Vincent, as it stands now, cannot ship on a weekly basis any product, any commodity, any item on a sustained basis that can fill a ship and justify a ship coming to St. Vincent Grenadines. And you went forward correctly to say the last time we could have done something like that was when we walked alongside with our other Winter Islands colleagues and functioned through the Geese lines to ship bananas aboard. So weekly, Grenada, St. Vincent, and Lucia Dominica could fill a boat with bananas, and then the other related products, coconut, yam, dashi, tana, was stacked in and went into Europe. Now, if that is correct, and it is correct, it also means that if we are going to become an export-led economy, over and beyond the domestic preparation of budgets, St. Vincent by itself, St. Lucia by itself, and others, we have to go back to think about the collective. What are we as a Windward Islands grouping doing to make sure that between us, there's enough soursop, there's enough mangoes, there's enough pawpaw, there's enough passion fruit, there's enough breadfruit, there's enough whatever commodity we're talking about. And how do we agree among ourselves how we go collectively abroad? Because some of that is going to be necessary. Because we're getting into the big league, which involves serious marketing, serious distribution, value chain issues, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm saying. It's not a small matter. And it's an area that has to separate us, the New Democratic Party, from the other guys. Because the rider to that is that once we begin to speak and talk agriculture, once we begin to speak about the sea, once we begin to speak of farmers and fishers, we're speaking about the small man by and large. And that in and of itself, not just people-centered, but it represents a bottom-up approach to economic development. The money reaches the people who need it most, immediately, rather than waiting on those who collected at the top, let's say to our tourism plan, and hoping that it filtered down to the bottom.
We hear that a person can receive a sentence of up to 7 years in prison and a fine of up to $20,000 for possessing an unlicensed firearm. This is according to Station Sergeant Junior Batiste during an appearance on WFM's Cop Chop program yesterday.
There's a draft amendment to the Firearms Act. It's not enacted, that is a draft. We see some changes in the fines. So for instance, you see some changes where the fine moved to $5,000 more. So from like 20 to 25 to 30. And the years move from like 5, 7, 10, 15. All this depends on where the matter is tried. So you will find at summary level, which is the magistrate level, it would be a less fine. And yes, at High Court, which is indictable, it would be more. So these are some of the things that you would see in the draft.
And Assistant Commissioner of Police Trevor Bailey, who was also on the program, urged persons who know of anyone or family members who may possess an illegal firearm to surrender the weapon during the amnesty period in order to avoid prosecution.
Let us don't get to the stage where the amnesty period expires and then you're caught with the firearm and you have to face the consequence, the court, where you had an opportunity to hand it in free, but now you're staring at a $25,000 or $30,000 fine or a 10 or 15 year imprisonment term. When if the day before you had handed it, it will cost you absolutely nothing. No time in jail, no cash from the bank. So take this opportunity and hand in the fire and let us continue to make St. Vincent and the Grenadines the safest place that all will want it to be.
The SVG Police Force says the objectives of the National Firearms Amnesty 2024 is to enhance and improve community safety and security by reducing the ongoing threat of illegal firearms and ammunition in the country and reduce the likelihood of such firearms falling into the hands of criminals as a result of break-ins, theft, or accidental loss. The SVG Police Force and its partners will be embarking on town hall meetings and walkabouts in various communities to sensitize residents about the amnesty and other related issues. The first set of meetings and walkabouts will be held next week in Choppins, Calico, Georgetown, and Chateaubelair. The bus driver and conductor who were involved in a viral video last week have had their license temporarily revoked. The viral video shows an omnibus leaving the Richmond Hill bus terminal at high speed with the conductor hanging out of the bus. Moments after takeoff, the conductor and a passenger were seen tossed out on the road. Head of the Traffic Department, Assistant Superintendent Panel Brown, spoke on the incident on NBC News recently and said they are still investigating the matter.
Concerning the incident that occurred on Richmond Hill Road sometime last week, the police are still carrying out investigation, but so far we have been in contact with the driver and the conductor, also the owner of the omnibus. We have since laid charges against the driver for driving in a manner dangerous to the public. His license is temporarily suspended by the Commissioner of Police, pending the outcome of the charge in the court. The conductor also received some charges, and he also is suspended from act as a conductor on any omnibus.
ACP Brown said the omnibus driver and conductor accepted full accountability for the action in the viral video. Brown also noted that the police are conducting investigations into reports of bus drivers and conductors refusing to transport students if their parents are law enforcement officers.
There are also similar incidents where we have persons being charged for failing to carry some school children. These are incidents where the driver would have stopped for the passengers, which happens to be school children. And on recognizing the children were parents, were police officers, they drove off on the children, leave them there, and told them to let the police provide transportation for them. This is not acceptable. These kind of behaviors are not acceptable. In that incident, the driver and conductor was also charged because they have an obligation. They were working and they refused to carry the children.
The police on Wednesday, January 31st, 2024, arrested and charged Daniel Patrick, a 29-year-old food vendor of Layu, with the offense of wounding. The police say, according to investigation, the defendant allegedly unlawfully and maliciously wounded a 34-year-old auxiliary police officer by striking her on the forehead with a wooden chair. The offense was committed at the cruise ship terminal in capital Kingston about 12:05 p.m. on December 9th, 2023. The defendant appeared at the Kingston Magistrate Court on January 31st, 2024 and pleaded not guilty to the charge. He was granted bail in the sum of $3,000 AC with one surety and was ordered by the court to not have any contact with a virtual complainant. The matter was adjourned to April 23, 2024 for trial. The Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Police Force Band arrived earlier today in Grenada, where it will be participating in several events for Grenada's 50th Independence Anniversary celebrations. The delegation sailed from St. Vincent on board SVG Coast Guard vessel Captain Hugh Mulzac with 26-member contingent led by Inspector Vern Miller. A news release from the police says the members were met at the main port by Grenada's Assistant Commissioners of Police Connor and Charles and the Grenada Police Bandmaster Inspector Ethan Francis. The two ACPs addressed the visiting contingent and welcomed them to Grenada, outlining the activities planned for the 50th years of independence celebrations and the expected participation of the band. Grenada's Independence Day will be celebrated on February 7th, 2024.